how do you pronounce your last name?
Matarazza.
Matarazza. So Mike Matarazza has spoken in US, Tokyo, Indonesia, Africa, and Brazil. An experienced motivational speaker and executive coach, Mike started his first business in Tokyo at the age of 23. His next business in Thailand a few years later, and his third and fourth companies upon returning to the US. He's an author of several books and audio programs. Today, Mike will be sharing with us a business secret designed to triple your sales and figuring out who your ideal client is exactly and exactly how to market to them. So with that, please help me welcome Mike, and I'm sure that he will be able to introduce the subject better than me. Thank you so much.
So, how you doing? Great. Gang, I drove all the way from San Francisco, redid my entire PowerPoint web sheet, and that's all I get. Really? Let's do this again. How y'all doing? Great.
Yeah.
So again, I am so excited about today's subject. In fact, let me just open this up so we can show. So excited to open up about today's subject because, first off, I will tell you that in the 15 years I've been doing this, the people I've shared this with, the least result I've ever gotten, the smallest result I've ever gotten from someone who actually not only listened to what I said but implemented it, was that they doubled the amount of leads they were getting because of their marketing. That was the smallest. So, you know, when Alan says, hey, this can help you triple your business, you're going to see in a minute, it really, really, really can. Because a lot of people are doing this incorrectly or they're doing it half correctly. And once you make this change, are you going to see, I mean, how many of you, by the way, would love to do the exact same amount of marketing you're doing now and get 3 or 4 times as many phone calls? Right? All of us. This will help you do it. So having said that, in order to make this happen, I don't believe in just doing a lecture. I like to have people participate. So the key word while we're together is participation. Say it with me.
Participation.
Which means, if I ask you a question and say by a show of hands, like this, what do you do? So let's try this again. By a show of hands. Beautiful. If I say to you, gang, what do you think about that? You say, man, that was awesome. Let's try that. Gang, what do you think about that?
Man, that was awesome.
Beautiful. So raise your hand, feel free to participate, because I don't want to stand up here and lecture you. I want to make sure that when you leave, you totally understand what I went over and you can apply it to your business. Sound good?
Yeah.
Good. So the subject of today, as you see, is how to identify your ideal buyer and supercharge your marketing. And you'll see in a minute why this is so incredibly important. So, to share with you an example. So I have a client, and here's the question you see. Are you selling the wrong way to the wrong people? So I had a person that I knew who came to me and said he had a business, and his business was high-end executive relocation. Now let me explain to you exactly what this means. We read about all these people in the paper, you know, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year as the president of XYZ company, right? So let's say you have the CEO of a company on Wall Street, and then all of a sudden the company in Silicon Valley says, we want you to be our CEO, and he takes the job. Well, this isn't like a normal move, is it? Right? I mean, usually you're talking about someone who has like a 12-room mansion. They might have 6 or 8 cars. You know, so a lot of things has to happen. First, they have to sell a property like that, and obviously there's not as many buyers for that kind of property, true? Right? Then they have to move 6, 7, 8 cars plus 12 rooms worth of furniture, and most of the furniture is either very expensive or irreplaceable because it's unique. Maybe it's something that's hundreds of years old. They bought it at an art auction, so scratches, dents, cracks, this is a big problem. You know, it's not like, oh, that's a little crack on the back of our dresser, we'll just put that up against the wall, no one will notice, right? And then, of course, they have to find an equivalent property wherever they're going. So it's a very much needed service, and it's a highly profitable service. And this person wanted to expand their business in. And one of the things they were doing, so I'm going to give you an example of how to do this wrong, how to do this right, then we're going to apply it to you, was they had a blog. And as soon as we started talking, they said, well, take a look, tell me what you think. And this was one of their blog posts. Now, look at this. CEO, I'm taking out all the names, obviously, but CEO, name deleted, moves but loses money on the sale of his home. It says, CEO X is happy that he has gotten this job, but the fact that he had to move quickly has caused him to lose $3 million on his home. He bought it for $12 million, but he was only able to sell it for $9 million. Still, we wish him all the best, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I said, who have you written this for? And he goes, well, I'm a realtor. I mean, realtors are really interested in stuff like that. Now, let me ask you, this person, are his clients realtors, yes or no?
Probably not.
No. No. He was selling the wrong way to the wrong people. Oh, not only that, but a lot of people felt he was sort of insulting the CEO by reporting this. Right? So it even worked against him. Does that make sense? Right? Now in a second, we're going to talk about who his ideal client was and how we skew it. But a lot of people in their marketing, are they talking about what they think is interesting about their product or what their client thinks is interesting? They think. And why are you arguing with your client? There's so many people who go, but my client should like what I do for this reason. Who cares? Until they become a client, once they become a client of yours, then you can explain to them why their thinking is incorrect. The first job is to actually get them to what? Hire you. In order to get them to hire you, you have to address what they think they need first. Does that make sense? Yep. Right? Like, as an example, I have a friend who's a coach, and he works so much with his clients on life balance. He works with a lot of solopreneurs. But the thing is, they come to him because they want to make money. He realizes that one of the reasons that people make money, he's a coach for Anthony Robbins, one of the reasons that people make money is because they're less stressed and more balanced and more fulfilled, so when they're at work they can focus better and make better decisions. But he's not going to argue with them, right? The reason they sign up with Anthony Robbins for coaching is because they want to make more money. After they become a client, then the coach has a chance to turn their thinking around. Does that make sense? Right. By the way, how many of you have clients come to you for what you think is the wrong reason? Like you're like, no, this isn't why you should like my product. I'm glad you're here, but there's other reasons. Show hands. Hands up high. Look at this. This is like almost half the room. So don't argue with your client. Let's see. Go. Good. So, wrong way. Here, just lose clear. So my rule is this. When you know who your client is, you can create content that speaks to them, and not only will they love it, they'll come back for more. So let's take an example as an advisor, right? Let's say their client challenges are this. This could be a financial advisor, a business advisor, anybody. They say, well, my client needs clarity, goals, and a real plan, right? They feel overwhelmed. There's not enough time in the day, right? I just feel like I always have too much to do. You know what? I'm working too hard for the revenue I'm generating. By the way, a lot of you here, how many of you is everybody here a small business owner? Is everybody pretty much? How many of you have felt one or all of these things? Right. So if you were going to do a blog, right, and you know these are your client concerns, then maybe you'd want something like this, right? Like, here you go, goals, plan, timeline. Feeling overwhelmed? You have more free time than you think you do. Sell more, work less. What if you could get twice the result out of the same amount of effort? Now, just as an aside, you're also, how many of you think I'd like to read either one or all of these articles? Sure. Right, most people. So you're creating content in alignment with what you know your clients' needs and problems are, right? Even if you think there's other things they should be focused on. Does that make sense? So, let's see. So, once we did this for the client, once he knew who he was marketing to, everything changed in a good way. So, example, executive relocation. CEO moves but loses money on the sale of his home. Now, this is wrong. Why? One, because who is he really looking to market to? Is he marketing to real estate agents, yes or no? Who would he be marketing to? Somebody tell me. Say again? CEOs themselves, yes. Who else? The companies, because the companies often have an executive relocation division, or their human resource directors in charge of it, right? Or who else? Executive assistants, right? I mean, there's, say again? People with money, right? But the executive assistants, sometimes a CEO or an executive says, look, they tell you, you go find somebody and tell this person who they should use, right? That's who he's looking to market to. So obviously, writing that this CEO lost $3 million on his home is going to make them run. Because they're thinking, I don't want him releasing personal information about my people. So the other thing is, he has to, and jot this down for yourself in your notes, you have to show them how you can solve the problem, not just tell them what the problem is. All these people know that sometimes when you move in a hurry, you're forced to lose money on your property. Great. And the sky's blue. Thanks for telling me, right? But they already know what the problem is. What they want to know is how to solve it. So here's what we changed to. This new post got over 12 calls. It was the first time he put up a blog post and got calls because of his post. And you'll see why in a second. Relocating and selling in a hurry, the 5 things you must do if you want to make sure you don't lose money. How many people that are relocating a CEO want to read that article? What percent? Right, everybody's like, all of them, right? Is he now marketing to his market, yes or no?
Yeah.
Is he now addressing their problems and concerns, yes or no? Totally. And you see it started, now he got very general. There was a CEO who recently got a new position in another state and needed to move right away. Because the move was rushed, they actually lost $3 million on the home and the company had to absorb the cost. So he sets up the challenge and then you see what he says. He says, it did not have to happen that way. If you follow these 5 rules, you can make sure that when your company relocates an executive, boom, and they bring up there. Does that make sense? Now, by the way, we're going to already think of a piece of content based on this they might want to create. A blog post or something they might want to write. Show of hands. 3 people have something coming to mind. Now, as we do this next exercise, keep in mind, right, what would your 3 core value propositions or subjects be? So you can think of this in 2 ways, right? If you're coming to someone, you want to offer them 3 different things you can do for them, right? If all you say is, for example, in this case, as an advisor, I help people set their goals, create a plan for achieving them, and schedule it. Well, you might get people go, oh, I got that part of my life handled. Okay, then they're not a client. Or you say I help people create more free time in their business. Well, no, I'm fine. I got plenty of free time. I've got other problems, right? So you want to have 3 different ways that your product helps your client, so they have a choice. At least one of them will click, maybe all 3. Sell more, work less, same thing. 3 value propositions. Then at the same time, you want to use that in your marketing, whether it's blog posts that you write, ads that you put in newspapers, what you put on your internet website, right, is going to be dictated by this. Can you all see why that would be again? And then you want to start targeting them, even if you do videos, right? Video marketing is huge. For some of you who love that, YouTube is the 2nd most searched search engine in the world except for Google. What if this person did a video on each of these subjects? Does that make sense? And people are going like, yeah, man, someone types in YouTube, feeling overwhelmed, life balance, time management, and all of a sudden there's their video, which leads to the website, which might lead to a phone call. Make sense? Right? So what would your 3 value propositions be? These are the 3 things I can do for my best client. And then we'll talk about how to apply them. So let's figure out, what's the exercise to find who your ideal buyer is? By the way, how many of you here feel like, no, I already know exactly who my ideal client is, my main, most needed, most wanted client? Who says that? Now, isn't this interesting? We got like 40 people here. Keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at 10%. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? 90%. And you're all smart people. I mean, you come to a group called Successful Thinkers. You're smart enough to start a business. But then how are you deciding how you market and what you say in your marketing? How many people here feel like they spend a lot of time and money marketing and they're not getting the results they want? Well, wait, I shouldn't say it. How many of you know other people that feel that way? Show me. Now all the hands go up. Okay. There's better. So keep that in mind, right? If you were going to do something like this on your website, right, what would your 3 be? Just keep that in mind. Everybody with me, yes or no?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So as we do this next exercise, what would they be? Am I going the right way with this clicker? No, I'm not. I still have to get used to this. Your ideal buyer. Now, most of you have a worksheet. Is there anyone who doesn't? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've got 3 left. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, you're good? Okay, follow along. I got maxed out on the worksheets, I guess.
Anybody doesn't have one and the neighbor don't have it?
So the first thing, here's what I want you to do. For your core client, and not all of these apply to everybody, what's their age range? What is their age range? For example, if you're doing financial planning, even though we all agree that young people should start saving as early in their life as possible, you know, 18 to 25, unless it's a trust fund kid or something, is probably not in your age range. I mean, you might be willing to do it if their family is already a client, you want to get them started, but you're not going to spend a tremendous amount of time and money marketing in that space, true? Right? So what's their age range? What's their gender? Some products, even if they're both for men and women, in certain products, the male in a couple tends to make a decision around that. In others, it's the female. Depends, right? Is gender a factor? What about race? Now, it's interesting, race or nationality. And people go, well, no, I mean, my products are everywhere. Not necessarily. I know a person, someone I've worked with in San Mateo, he's Vietnamese. And he's an insurance broker. He specifically markets to the Vietnamese community. Sure, everybody's a possible client, everybody needs insurance, but that's a great niche for him. Because he's Vietnamese, from Vietnam, speaks fluent Vietnamese. A lot of people that come over, if they're first generation, or what he calls first and a half generation, they don't speak English that well. They like dealing with someone who understands their culture, their needs. It's a great niche, right? What about, there's a guy in the East Bay here, by the way, who's Fijian. He's a real estate broker. His whole practice is built, apparently there's 35,000 Fijians living in the San Francisco Bay Area. His whole practice is based on marketing to people from Fiji, because it's a niche. Right? Geographic area and radius. How far away are they from you? And what area? So let me give you an example. There was someone I dealt with who had a restaurant. The man, it was a beautiful restaurant, but I mean, the cheapest dinner for 2 would be around 150 bucks. And that's if you're trying to save money. This was high end. You know, bottles of wine started at like $200. So he did a direct mail campaign in a radius. The problem was, in a 25-mile radius, 75% of the people that got his direct mail were in no way on earth could afford to eat at his restaurant. But there was one part where it was all upper middle class and 1% homes. I said, spend 3 to do marketing instead. Eliminate that other 25%, direct it all there, right? So what about your area? What about your radius? Then income level. That was a factor for him. What about your client? Now here's another thing. What do they like? And what are some of the challenges they're having? Right? What do they like and what are some of the challenges they're having? So you find like business people, what are things they like? You're marketing to business people. Oh, I want to get more referrals. I want to be better at networking. I'd really like to, you know, be a better leader in my business. Okay, great, these are things they like. What are some of their challenges? You know what, I don't have a clear plan for my business. You know what, I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed because I don't have enough time. So that's how you can decide what you're going to market. Does that make sense, gang?
Yep.
Yeah. And last but not least, what's their position in the company? Here's the thing. Sometimes you don't want to market to the CEO. right? In this relocation guy's example, more